You're listening to Squatch Talks Podcast. Real stories and real encounters told by real researchers. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Hey, thanks for tuning in, and welcome to Squatch Talks Podcast.
Hey everybody, how are you?
Hi. Hello.
We are just on a real high at the moment, and not a indica induced one either, I might add. This is sheerly because we just got off with Dixie Cryptid, and we just had a little conversation with Cam on a live feed. So how exciting is that?
Yeah, that was. I'm still all of Twitter here. It was great.
You're glowing.
I am.
Yeah,
It's like an orange glow I have.
No, that's me. I'm orange, man. What's going on with this lighting here? But we'll work all these details out, right, guys?
Right.
And hey, the other night, this is a couple of weeks after, of course, by the time you see this, but the other night we did our premiere on the Facebook Live, and yeah, me being the Dumas as I am, I was not able to set it up correctly. So we're going to try again Friday night at 8 p.m. So if you're hearing this, it's already happened, hopefully successfully. Yes. But we're real researchers telling real stories and real encounters. So we're going to figure this out as we go along, but we're going to have fun doing it. And we're going to just keep telling, our tales, and hopefully you're going to keep listening.
Yeah. It's really a good time going out and trying to find the elusive creatures, but
and some days we get skunked, as Dixie said. He asked, have we ever gotten skunked?
Right.
I said, it happens all the time. As often as we are out there, you're not going to have activity every time.
No, you can go weeks without anything. You're just not at the right place at the right time. Either that or they're in a bad mood.
It's just funny, though, for the longest time throughout the fall, which we talked about last time, with the fall being a better time for most of our research areas, that we had so much consistent activity. Even when we took Eric and the Bucks County paranormal investigator crew, out to do a night op and to film their episode. Amazing. Within 5 minutes, we were getting whoops, and we had knocks. We had some a call, a howl. When I did a knock, we got a howl back. He was blown away. They only hung out for about an hour and a half, and then they were like, got to work tomorrow. They were seeing lights flashing, the whole 9 yards,
Wow. It's almost like we planned it. Holy crap.
And it's funny, they said that during and I said, well, we try.
We put out all the intention.
So when it comes to getting skunked, and I feel like the Squatch are going to be occupying an area until the resources are used up. So it has to be kind of determined if you want to do it with less instances of being skunked, is kind of see where the resources are. Maybe if you move north just a little bit in your research area,
by the time of year,
right?
Certain times of year, you're on different sides of the mountain.
Right. Yeah. So those type of things come into play, and I think it's important that it's recognized.
Or even elevation, right? If you're on a mountain, it could have to do with elevation and where the source of the food is at the present time.
Mm-hmm.
All things that contribute to a successful night out. But hey, we're the ones going out doing it. We're actually putting boots on the ground, and as a result, we're having experiences and encounters with these elusive creatures. I personally, I can't tell you how many times that we've interacted with them, from the early days of my career researching. 10 years ago, I got growled at on Thanksgiving morning out there by myself, taking a hike in the fresh fallen snow, looking for tracks. I'll tell that story, I guess. I don't know. It's a good story. By myself.
They all are. They're all good.
Should I just jump into it? You want me to just jump into that story? Because it was kind of a peak peak moment in my early, days of doing this. I was out there on Thanksgiving. As I mentioned, I used to go on solo hikes out in the forest to stay out of my own head on holidays without my kids. I get out there and I park. At that time, I had a car. I used to drive an Oldsmobile out into the woods.
Into the Pine
And you wouldn't
Barrens.
believe where I would get. Okay. Rangers and other people, four wheels, be like, hey, we don't see many cars out here.
Hmm.
And so I hiked about 3 miles into these abandoned railroad tracks. And I crossed over to the railroad. I crossed over the railroad tracks onto a different trail, and I made a left, and I actually I had to relieve myself. So I did that, and afterwards I had a child's baseball bat. That's what I was using at the time. It was a knocking stick. And I
Nice.
saw a stump,
Yep.
and I just did 3 knocks on this stump really hard. And from behind me on the right came a growl so loud that it vibrated my right ear. And I turned and I went, whoa. And it went, "Rrrr." And I went, whoa, a second time. And, "Rrrr." And I'm looking and it says fall, so there was a lot less leaves on the bushes and things, but the sheep sorrel still had some little leaves on it. I could not see where the growl was coming from. So I realized, I'm about 3 miles away from my car. I'm holding a child's baseball bat. So I went, hello, how are you? I'm like, does this mean you don't want me here? I mean, literally, it was responding. Okay. So I said,
So, I mean, all in all, it seems like it's 5, 6 growls that it had it toward you.
at least 4 or 5. Yeah.
Yeah.
And on the
Wow.
last one was when I actually said, okay, I'll leave, and I turned and I went back up onto the railroads, the tracks, and I turned and waved. I went back down onto the opposite side, onto the trail that takes me back to the trail I came in on, and I started heading back towards the car. So, I got up to where that trail is and I made the right, and it gets narrow in a few spots, where something could literally just, yank me right into the forest. But I'm occasionally glancing behind me, to see if there's something following me, right? So I get about halfway back to the car and I notice on my right that there's a game trail going off into the forest, but through a mountain laurel grove, huge grove.
Oh, they
And
love
they
those.
love mountain laurels, let me tell
They
you.
love them. Yep.
Mm.
And so I said, oh, that looks interesting, right? So I make a right and I go down the trail and I come out on a clearing, and there is a line of tracks in this clearing in the snow, and they're about 4.5 feet apart, tightrope fashion. It had snowed overnight into the early morning hours, so they weren't like fresh tracks where I could clearly see the toe definition, but they were clear tracks, but it had snowed in them. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I followed them across the small clearing, and the game trail continued from there, and there was an arch, there was an X, and a tree broken off about 5 feet off the ground, about 5 inches thick. Okay. So I went, this looks like a good place to put a trail camera.
Yep.
It's got all the telltale signs, right?
Which I did. So I set up a trail camera, and I actually had some apples with me and a can of Alpo beef stew with the quick, pull tab release. So that I actually stuck right in the top of the broken tree. Okay. I set up my trail camera, and this is within a half hour after getting growled at.
Mm-hmm.
And
At
after
least you're feeding them.
hey, I'm leaving a peace offering at least, right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
I went back to my car and I took off. But that was a fun day, let me tell you. Thanksgiving 2010.
Yeah, that's incredible. It's all about the intentions you put out there too. You go out there being all oof. I can't believe you growled at it. Growled back.
I can't either. I don't know what I was doing. I do it like what we call a huff,
Mm-hmm.
and it responded, and I couldn't believe it. And then it did it again, and then I spoke to it, and obviously, if it was a coyote or a bear or something, I think I would have known the source. So
Well,
I'm not sure if it went down
Oh,
on its
yeah.
belly in the sheep sorrel. Often they will go flat on their bellies. I don't know, or if you guys,
Maybe it was above you.
or maybe it was
well,
interdimensional in a different dimension. I don't like to say that, me, but I don't know.
Hey, you go where the evidence takes you.
but
Yeah.
it is definitely strange how you couldn't tell where it came from
Mhm.
or where it was coming from. I mean, a general direction even.
Well, it came from behind me on my right, as I mentioned, like literally
Oh,
my ear
okay.
vibrated. So that's why I turned
Right.
like this. So after
Okay.
I did this twice, and turned my head and growled at it, that's when I turned to scan the area and to see if I could find the source.
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
Mm-mm.
Wow. They
That's a good story.
you know, did you did you notice any type of fear? Was there any fear involved when you heard these growls? I mean, you seem like I've seen you out in the field many times, and you don't display a lot of fear when you're out there.
I'm a good
But when
actor.
you're out there, well, yeah, when you're out there alone
Yeah,
and,
well, in a
something's
group of
growling
three.
at you somewhere
Yeah.
where there's not known to be creatures that are growling,
Mhm.
I mean, I
Honestly,
don't know.
no. I didn't have fear. I really didn't. And evidenced by how I responded, of course, don't know. I was early, like I said, this was in the early stage of my research career, so I didn't have a lot of experience with getting growled at, let
Yeah.
alone being out in the forest. So I just
Yeah.
reacted, I guess, the way I felt I should, and I didn't have time to be afraid. But as I mentioned, after the fourth or fifth one, when I said, "Do you not want me here?" and it responded with a growl, I kind of said, "Okay, maybe it's best if I exit the area. I think it's trying to tell me something." So I wasn't like all feared up and sweating and heart racing kind of fear, but I
Yeah.
had a healthy fear.
Have you heard this growl before?
Not like this. Mm-mm.
No, huh?
Not before then, and we've heard growls since. And Art and I, of course, thought we've recorded on a number of occasions what we thought were growls,
Oh, yeah.
and even played them for the big guy
Yep.
once at the Finding Bigfoot dinner that we were hanging out after filming with him, and he's like, "Yeah, that's a squatch," and turns out it's a nighthawk, a bird we
It
have in the
sounds
area.
really good.
And it did. Let me tell you, I would have never known had Dan not brought that up on his fancy thinking box that day at the expedition.
Yep.
And he was like, "Yeah, you mean one of these?"
Yeah.
It does this me, me, me. And that's when it dives down at a insect or
It
whatever.
flutters, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
with the wings, it makes a growling
Mhm.
sound. And it,
Man.
Yeah.
who knew?
That's amazing.
And that's a testament to the type of research we do. Like, not everything's a Bigfoot, right? We
Right.
go after it. Like Nathan has said, we
Yeah.
don't just assume it's Bigfoot. Well, I did at that time, of course, for a long time. I thought I had some Bigfoot.
Till the proof comes up that it isn't,
Yeah.
you got to go with what you know.
Hey, we got a new subscriber. It's just got a notification. Dragon breath.
Wonderful.
Sweet.
That's who it is. Dragon breath. Subscribe to us.
Nice.
Thank
Hey,
you.
Thank you, Dixie.
Yeah.
He's the man. Let me tell you, he's done quite a great job. Hey, I know it gets me choked up too, bro. I'll tell you.
Here, you need some water?
I'll just go off from this is alkaline water available at Health Haven. Shameful self-promotion.
There you go.
Hey, I did it on his show. I can do it on ours, right?
That's right. Squatch
There you
Talks
go.
podcast.
You're your own advertiser.
Hey, I'm the only health food store in America with a Bigfoot museum
That we know of.
No, I'm pretty confident. I know another guy who owns a store in Houston, and he's interested in what we do, but has yet to, actually come out with us.
He hasn't come out of the Bigfoot closet yet.
Nathan's like a deer in the headlights.
Yeah, I was a little bit.
I'm like, hey,
I just wasn't ready for it.
Okay. Wait, I'm on a 7-second delay. I think.
Oh, that's right, though. Yeah, my head.
Ooh, don't drop the cast again. Come
Yeah.
on.
Oh,
Did you notice he's missing something?
oh,
I don't know if
yeah.
the listeners are that keen on what we're doing here, but his background had a little catastrophe prior to airing or starting this recording session.
Yeah,
And, don't worry,
if you hang
everybody's
a
okay.
cast, if you hang one of your Bigfoot casts on the wall, make sure you do it right. And all I can say is Eric's Bigfoot casting, his method is perfect because it didn't even chip. It didn't break, it didn't chip, it didn't nothing.
And
it's
it actually
perfect.
bounced off that cabinet, I'm sure too, right?
It broke another thing I had sitting up there, hit the wall, and then hit the metal vent on the floor for my hot air heat. And I heard it hit that, and I just sat here and I closed my eyes. And Terry was in the background. She goes, "It's okay. It's okay.
He'll make another one."
It's okay. But the rebar, man, you got to put the rebar in every time. Dental stone and rebar. Or what do we use? It's dental stone, isn't it?
Here's one of the first ones I did. Okay. This is an original, not a recast. And I don't know if you can see it okay, but there is a crack in there. Do you see it? But because of the rebar, it doesn't fall apart.
Right.
Right.
So there is a crack right through the middle.
Yep.
See the toes? See the toes? This is not a full adult, but I can't say that it's a human either, because we found this in March on a sleeting, rainy day. And one of my research friends, Gina, who was on Finding Bigfoot on the episode I was on, she had called me and had come across a track on a hike. So she said, "Hey, why don't you come down and check this out?" So I did, and it was pretty nasty out. Heather kind of stayed in the truck at that point, and I went with Gina, and we found the imprint that she thought she saw, and she thought it was a knuckle imprint, but what it was actually was a foot imprint. But a deer and her dogs, she was walking her dogs, stepped in the heel, so it kind of altered the look, right? So I said, "Okay, looks like something." I said, "Let's cast it," and I brought my casting materials. So while that one was drying, I put a piece of plastic, bag over it to prevent more rain from getting into it. I said, "Let's take a walk back in the direction from where it came from and see if we found anything else." And this trail actually borders the Garden State Parkway. Okay.
Really?
And on one side, and on the opposite side is a golf course. Well, what's on golf course? Lots of deer, right? They love feeding on the grass. So, so anyway, we walk down the trail, and sure enough, I find another impression. I'm like, "Hey, here's another one." And you see, it's got some depth, and this was a hard packed trail too, let me tell you. So I say, I'll give it a shot, and obviously this one did crack, but at least it's still intact. So I did make a recast of it also, so I have a fully intact recast. But we live and learn, as we say, and we get better as we go along. So now, if this would have fallen, there'd be nothing left. Okay.
Now, just for the listeners, when you say you use rebarb in your casting, what particularly do you use for the rebarb?
It's a good question, because this cast was made just using regular casting material, like plaster of Paris or whatever the heck it is that they sell at the local hardware store. And I use bamboo skewers. Bamboo, I break them into various sizes to accommodate the size track. There's Nathan showing you one, and that one was cast on the Pennsylvania expedition in October. 2021, right? Yeah.
Toes.
You can actually see the toes, and it was in a puddle, so it was a wet one also, and it's harder to cast in wetness.
It is, and the dirt roads, that this is on, they're well maintained roads, so it was not easy to get that deep into the. That was deep.
Yeah, I'm surprised that it was there actually. So it was a good find on your part. But hey, and it worked out almost precisely to the minute. You came up to my tent, and I was laying there kind of relaxing in my tent with Heather. and it was like 10 of 4, and you're like, hey, you want to do an impromptu track casting demo? And I looked at my watch and I was like, well, I was supposed to do it at 4 o'clock on Friday, so this is perfect.
Because it was 4 o'clock on Friday.
We were actually out there casting at 4
Yep.
o'clock on Friday, so it went right along with your itinerary.
We aim to please. We aim to please.
I have never been on an expedition that had such a great itinerary, and it really, I mean, went so smoothly, and everything was on time. I was like, where'd you pull that out of? I mean, come on.
You know what? I almost didn't plan anything. I just, timing was everything, you know. But to having Delwyn up there, though, that was great. Having Delwyn Fiddler there, doing all the Native American stuff, that was amazing.
That ceremony was amazing, man.
Yeah. Yeah,
So cool.
I can't thank him enough for that. And then, of course,
he wanted to, you know, hook up with my wife, but I don't know.
Well, that's
he was serious.
Really?
I was unable to produce offspring or something, so he made his services available.
He did it. He was going to do a certain kind of rain dance.
And Heather's like, is he for real or is he just kidding?
Full of water.
So we're sitting there after the ceremony, having, you know, breaking bread with him. He was sitting with Heather and I eating his food before he left, you know. And but then before he left, right? Didn't I ask him to bless the expedition?
Yeah, and he did.
And he did.
There was 6 or 8 of us standing there when he did it. That was really neat.
That was cool. And we got results. I swear that I attribute it to his blessing that we recorded those howls on Saturday night.
Yeah. Howls and
Dead Woman's Hollow.
That's a great place to go.
Is that actually your nickname, or is that a place in Pennsylvania where?
Called, yeah.
All right, so you just gave up BFRO expedition.
Well, no, nobody
details.
knows. We're representing Nasbro here, bro.
I got you.
Hey, Matt, if you're watching, it's cool, man. And nobody knows where this place is.
No.
Don't worry, you'll hear about it, I'm sure, once Michael watches.
Yeah. Let us know.
Love you, Mike.
Hey, we had a good time. I mean,
got stories about Michael too, so if there's anything.
Hey, you got the
That's the beautiful part of being the organizer, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Hey, well, I mean, I couldn't have done any of that by myself. You were there for the track casting. Frank and Fran Culligan doing
chefs,
all the cooking, all that food. Yeah, I mean, I think I gained weight.
Brian,
all the hiking, and I still gained weight
and energy from New York.
Yeah, I definitely was.
Yeah,
I was seeing my home white lights.
Even your brother-in-law Nathan with the stones he brought, the gems and stuff. That was cool. You know?
Yeah, that helped. And Delwyn gave me some Apache tears.
And you gave
when we were there.
Yep, I have.
Yeah, we left one there for the Squatch. Yeah, yeah, that was.
Now I'm gonna.
They weren't just Apache tears, because you can get those Apache tears on Amazon. You know, these were blessed Apache tears, right?
Yeah, I believe these were. You can't get any better, I would think.
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain that any better than.
Right. It almost comes from the source.
Yeah.
Per se.
Yeah, he said they come out of the earth when it rains at that one spot
on the Trail of Tears, right?
I don't remember exactly where he said it was.
What he said. It was like along the Trail of Tears.
Yeah, I know he said it's where they were slaughtered, but
that's So Nathan, actually, why don't you tell us where you're planning a trip to this weekend?
Oh, yeah, that's
without
great.
Disclosing any specific location details.
No, I won't. This is actually Matt sent me a text 2 nights ago, and somebody's been messaging him on Facebook through the BFRO website or the Facebook page. And I'm going up there Sunday. She has active stuff going on. I mean, I just can't break away from work. Yeah, she said the the things that have happened there are many, many. The stories are long.
The stories
She-
are long and
And
plentiful.
exciting.
Yes.
Now,
Yes.
Mm.
are they real? That's
the
that's what
question.
your job is to find out.
That's the question. Well, what I really want to see is, she said in the middle of winter last year, she found, I think she said it was about 4 inches around, a branch jammed into the ground near where these things come up and out of her property. I'm pretty sure that's where she said.
In
I
the
only
frozen ground.
in the
right?
frozen ground. It was jammed into the ground like over a foot or something like that. She said. I don't have all the details yet. We were only on the phone for a little while, but she was making dinner and stuff like that. But yeah, I can't wait to get into that.
Just be careful. I know it sounds exciting, and it's just, I've experienced, especially a couple of women from Pennsylvania that had contacted me early on also, and you know, their stories were extraordinary. But
Yeah,
sometimes there's just some lonely people out there that are seeking attention too. So
yeah.
I got to be honest.
Oh
I'm
yeah,
hoping that's not the case here. Obviously,
I hope so too. Early on in my career, I had a couple that were they just wanted me to come up and talk to them and go hiking with them, you know. And
you're a
it's
big cuddle bear, but you know,
yeah,
So, I mean, here's some things about this location though, right? Okay. It's not highly known for Bigfoot activity, right?
nope.
It's
no,
not it's not like somebody can go online and be like, you know, I have Bigfoots here, you know, like,
no.
and it's not like a location like that. For you, it is part of one of your research areas, right?
It is very close to one of the places where I was screamed at, which is what I
Oh.
was going to talk about. Because since you told a pretty good story there, Eric, I was going to bring out getting screamed at. Or roar. I actually call it a roar
Why
because
don't you go right into it? Because you know,
Yeah, well,
it
right here.
was.
I'm all
I was.
ears.
I was, you know, out in the research area. It was just me and Terry, and we got there late Friday night. It was a quick setup. Nothing was going right that night. You know what I mean? It was. I wanted to get there earlier. The spot wasn't right.
Curse of Sasquatch.
Yeah, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
So I was frustrated. I tried to light a fire. It wasn't going well. I had to go. I had to walk away. Went back, got the fire going and everything. And I said, you know what? I'm so tired. I'm not putting anything out. Right. And I went to bed. She wakes me up. She's like, you got to hear this. And it was ways away. You could hear a roar, a howl. And it kept getting closer. And I was like, I think it's coming this way. And
So
we're
it was
laying there.
Okay,
Huh?
I'm sorry. No.
No,
Was it a repeated howl?
yeah.
Yeah.
I could hear it. And I'm like, cats do that. You know, mountain lions do that as they go. They call out, you know. Elk do it. You know, they'll move around and call out like that. So I'm trying to think what this thing sounds like, and it keeps getting closer. It keeps getting closer, and it was probably about 2:30 in the morning, I think, and all of a sudden, from right out where my truck was, I mean, it was right there. It let out this roar. I think the tent shook. I mean, it was loud. And that's one of those times, you know what? You said you weren't scared. You just, you know, you had a healthy fear.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, wow, that is close.
Yeah.
And at that point, I'm like, that is not a cat. That's not a coyote. Bears don't do that. They don't, you know, constantly call out like that. So it was incredible.
Now, did you do any provocations? to
Other
kind
than
of,
my snoring, no.
yeah, well, that's
That's pretty provoking.
that's something in itself, but yeah. So it's
Yeah, it is
so
kind of
strange.
legendary, isn't it?
It is so legendary. But it's also good because the Squatches will have a sense that people are actually sleeping in
Yeah.
camp. So, and they'll know from far away.
Yeah.
Um,
Sure.
so it's weird how these howls happen and how how it all led to like right where you were. Like
Yeah.
were you positioned in an area where maybe it had like a mountain top to travel to get to you?
Yeah.
Like was there like a path? It was. Okay,
Yeah.
so
It was a remote
right,
campsite, but
Yeah.
there are trails and there's
Yeah.
ridges right
right.
next to one
It's
another.
it's like 200 yards from a class A.
Mhm.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right.
And within a
Yeah.
few miles from where I recorded those howls that night.
Yep. Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
So I
Wow.
don't know if it's-
Actually, if it was screaming where I was camping, if it was howling where I was camping, we would have been able to record it from where you were
Mhm.
easily
So
with those Kimbro audio microphones we use.
yeah, man, they're very sensitive. I have to say, I had the LDR out when I hung the turkey, right?
Yeah.
Last week. Man, I just listened to 11 hours of rain. One thing came up, but it was a small woodland creature, I think, because I think
Yeah.
the neck had fallen out of the turkey. And so something came up and scurried and ate the neck. But other than that, nothing.
Yeah.
So when
How many
Dixie
hours
asked,
do we
you get
spend
skunked?"
listening to rain?
You get skunked. Okay. Yeah, I got skunked here. And
Yep.
I left a
Yeah.
lot of expensive equipment out there for a few nights in the
Yeah.
hopes of getting something. But
Yeah,
hey,
that's always a fear.
Brian, didn't you have something since we're on this screaming and fearful thing, the fear factor thing? Didn't you have something happen at the lake one night also, where you got screamed at? Where you were with
I,
the? I don't know if
no,
it
you
was a
know what?
scream or.
So it was in one of my research areas, and I was doing some scouting for an upcoming expedition. And what had happened was I got out of my car and I was standing there with my recorder and I was just listening for a while. And coming from it was all of us. It was a sudden grunt. It was it was not like a deer because I've heard deer grunt before.
Mhm.
This was like a grunt with some garble type sound afterwards. I do have it on a recording that I do have to find, but it scared me. I was probably, I don't know, 10 paces from my car, and I heard this thing and I scrambled so fast back to the car. Yeah, all you could hear in the recording is my footfalls, almost tripping on the way back. But
too.
It was almost like the sound seemed like it was closer to me than what
Anything that was close
that
to you.
than what I could visually see.
Mm-hmm.
It was almost like there should have been something in my view when I heard this, but I didn't see anything.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of like that. It was really creepy.
Yeah, almost like they
Yeah.
throw their voice. That's the only way. That's the only thing I can think of. There's people that can throw their voice and they sound like they're coming out like ventriloquists. That's what
Yes.
I'm looking for.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
almost like they're good at that, but I don't know.
That's a perfect way to describe it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it totally it
voice.
bugged me out. And I after that I stood there listening and I was right by my car with the door open. Standing there within a quick slide to get to safety. So yeah, no, I didn't venture out away from my car after that. But
I don't
other
blame
things
you.
have happened. Yeah, other things have happened in this area as well that have scared me beyond. Like I was never ever really had any fear. I didn't ever feel like I needed to take any type of something to protect myself.
Right.
And
Mhm.
You know, I do carry a pocket knife, you know, but
It's not going to be a
after
lot of
this
good.
happened, yeah,
Not
In fact, it
I
folded
might
up in
just
your
piss it
pocket
off.
now.
But
I was,
I want you to keep that story in mind for next week because
I'm gonna,
we're
I'm just
running out
talking.
of time here. So
Yeah.
Okay,
just I
all
want to
right,
just thank the listeners again, you guys. I think this was a great way to record tonight, just
Yeah.
casual and so.
Yeah. I want to thank everybody for listening
perfect.
and subscribing and keep coming back.
Thanks for checking out this episode of Squatch Talks Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe, follow, and give us a like, and stay tuned for more exciting stories on Squatch Talks.